In order to be able to keep track of the stuff you've created, it's good practice to get in the habit of naming things. Now, with only a couple of objects in your scene, you're probably thinking that taking the time to name something really isn't that big of a deal. But as your scenes get more complex, as the number of objects you've created start to add up, it just makes good sense to develop the habit of labeling things in a logical and organized way. Here's how that's done. I'll be using a file named Naming Objects. Now, if you go up to the Select by Name icon on the left-hand side of the toolbar, which you can also activate by simply hitting the H key on the keyboard, you'll notice that we've got a lot of nondescript names that are going to be pretty tough to sift through. Let's see if we can't change things around. I'm going to select the orange lamp base in the viewport. I'll now go to the Modify column and note that the name of that object is currently Line 01. Let's instead, with that area highlighted, simply type in lamp base. If I also decide to rename the lamp shade, I'll select that. Again, in the Modify column, highlight the name, this time reading Donut 01, and now typing in my new name. If I now hit H again to go to the Select by Name list, you'll see that I have two objects in my scene that are much easier to identify. Now, notice that I'm using names that make sense. This is especially important when working on a scene or project where a team of people are involved. Believe me, there's nothing worse than having to deal with a file where someone has used a personalized naming convention that no one else can figure out. So if you're taking the extra time to name something and working in a team environment, be sure to use a little common sense as to what you're specifically typing up. Now, another way of naming an object is to simply select the object in the scene, then right-click with the mouse. From here, you'll drop down to the lower right menu and choose Object Properties. Looking up at the top of the dialog, under the Name section, you'll notice this is currently named Line 02. Being that it's the lamp bulb in the scene, I'll name it as such. We'll highlight the area and type things in. If we now go to the Modify column and check out the name, you'll see that everything's now in place. Max also offers a nice little utility that allows you to name a series of objects using a common name, which would then be followed by a number. I'll select all four parts of the table to show you how that works. With the group of objects selected that I'd like to collectively name, I'll now go to the Tools pull-down menu and choose Rename Objects. Now I'm working with parts of a table, so why don't we go ahead and use the base name of table. I'll then go down and check Numbered to make sure that we have a number behind each name. I'll now simply click Rename. We can close the dialog. Let's go back to hit H for the Select by Name list. And you can see that all four parts of my table, the top and three legs, have now been named accordingly. Now, let's be honest, isn't that a much easier list now to be able to pick from? So there you go with a few different options with naming. Yeah, putting labels on things does take a little extra time, but it makes life working in any program so much easier in the long run.